Yes, when kids drank Tang and adults smoked.
Oh my God, so much smoking. Christy and Alonso here playing a little bit of catch up with a movie that came out over the weekend. It is called Apollo 10.5, and it's totally charming. Alonso, tell us about it.
Yeah, two big movies opened on Netflix on April 1st, and the one you probably heard more about is the less good one, but we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, Apollo 10.5, it's the latest from Richard Linklater. It is his latest animated feature, but it's a different style than you might be expecting from the guy who gave us Waking Life and The Scanner Darkly.
There's a covert operation. That means it does not exist. No one can know about this. Not your parents, not your brothers, not your sisters. No one.
It's still using the rotoscope, but it's a much more kind of 2D and, you know, approachable, I think, style of animation than if you found those other films a little off-putting. So Jack Black is our narrator, and he is the grown-up version of our lead character, Stan, who, like Richard Linklater, is the youngest child of a big family growing up in Houston in the late 60s. And ostensibly, the story here is that NASA has secretly reached out to Stan because of his very good science projects and his presidential fitness certificate to go into space because they accidentally made a capsule too small, and they want to make sure the moon landing is going to work before they do the real one with Neil Armstrong. But really what this kind of is this just sort of wonderful, like Proustian, nostalgic rush of memories about growing up in the late 60s, about the promise of the space program and how it seemed like science was going to fix everything. And, you know, growing up in a place like Houston where all the buildings were new and everything was sort of shiny and gleaming, and, you know, just about like how kids listened to music and watched TV and played in each other's yards and all of that stuff. You know, I've heard this called boomer nostalgia. I'm a geriatric Xer myself because the Gen X cutoff starts at 64 and I was born in 67. So it gave me a lot of that, a lot of Xer nostalgia as well as a youngest child myself. I just find this movie incredibly charming and funny, and I think it really sort of captures the feel of Linklater growing up, and like somebody I knew on Facebook was like, well, I watched 10 minutes and it feels like he's just, you know, filming his own childhood. I said, well, okay, but that's like saying Fellini is just filming his own childhood in Amarcord. I think artists, when they look back at their own past and about the world that created them, you know, find great insights that are universal about that world and how it affected everybody.
Yeah, that's so reductive to suggest that, and to just suggest that there's no art in that and nothing worthwhile in that. You know, it's the universality of the specificity, right? Like,
exactly.
I'm an only child, but I related to so much about the way they live their lives and like playing in the street and the TV shows that he watched. My son is an only child, and he enjoyed all of the kid shenanigans stuff way more than the actual space stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, think about how different my kid's life is than Richard Linklater's life was in the 60s.
Sure. Yeah, no, the space stuff almost feels like, oh yeah, right. That's the plot here. But can we just have more, you know, reminiscences, you know?
Yeah, I was not a giant fan of Waking Life, and I appreciate the work that goes into rotoscoping because it's so labor intensive and so time consuming. For those of you guys who don't know, it's like they shoot something in live action and then they hand paint over it.
Right.
And so it gives the images like kind of a vibrating vitality. But this is a little softer and not quite so active, you know, which it adds very much to the nostalgic vibe of it. But yeah, it's totally charming. It's a lot of Jack Black narration. So if that sort of thing is annoying to you, the telling of it, the Wonder Years-ishness of it all, you might find it annoying. But I thought it was just funny and sweet, and it felt very true. It's very true, but also the prism of memory, which makes things hazy and happier, right?
Well,
so it's like true, but the story is also that you tell yourself.
Exactly. And I think that part of what's interesting about the whole space aspect of this is that you get this idea of it's like it's the origin story of a yarn spinner, you know? And so like maybe whether or not the space stuff actually happened, it is the beginning of somebody who comes up with a story. and comes up with a version of events and a version of history that, you know, that he can manipulate and sort of be centered in. So that aspect, I would think of it, also sort of adds to to being a movie like Amarcord or like Crooklyn, or, you know, like so many other films that are about childhood, you know, sort of, you know, the portrait of an artist is a very, very young man, if you will.
Yeah. Richard Linklater was born in 1960.
Yes.
And a lot of this takes place during 69, of course, because it's the year of the moon landing. So he was a little younger than this character is.
And I think that's actually what's kind of always been an irony, is that, you know, I remember in the early 90s when Slacker came out and when the novel Generation X was published. And so Linklater and Douglas Copeland were sort of looked at as the spokespersons for Gen X. And they're both boomers. They were both older. Born in the early 60s. Yeah.
I mean, this is really sweet and really charming and really fun. And it's pretty short and it's on Netflix. So you can watch it right now. What is your number?
I said 9.5. I loved it. It's one of my contenders already, I think, for the best of the year.
Oh, I'm saying 8. It's very charming. And it's really for anybody of any age, kids or grownups who want to look back on, you know, sitting around and fighting over the TV and who gets to watch Gilligan's Island and who gets to watch Walter Cronkite.
Yes, when kids drank Tang and adults smoked.
Oh my God, so much smoking. Smoking in the wood paneled station wagon.
Everywhere.
All right, thanks, guys.